In one culture, your true name is considered so sacred that it is kept private from the world, shared only with your close family and spoken only in ceremony. In another, you carry both your father's and your mother's last name for your entire life, and no marriage can ever take either one away. And in a third, your full legal name is not 2 words or 3 words. It's a chain that stretches back through your father and your grandfather and your great-grandfather and beyond. Your name is not just what people call you. Depending on where you were born, it can be a family tree, a prayer, a legal record, and a spiritual bond, all compressed into a few syllables. Today we're looking at 7 cultures and the naming systems that make each of them unlike anything else in the world. At U.S. Language Services, we work daily with birth certificates, marriage certificates, and name change documents from dozens of countries. Few things make the diversity of human culture more visible than the official documents people use to prove who they are. A middle name can encode a father's identity going back 9 centuries. A surname can reflect both parents equally by law. And a given name can mark the exact hour of a child's birth or a misfortune the family hopes to outlive. We have seen it all. And the more documents we work with, the more fascinating this question becomes. What exactly is a name? Let's start in Russia, where identity is encoded into all 3 parts of a name, and each part follows its own distinct logic. The given name has traditionally come from the Orthodox Christian calendar. Every single day of the year is dedicated to at least one saint, and parents would name a newborn after the saint whose feast day fell on or closest to the child's birth. A boy born near October 26th might be named Dmitri, after Saint Demetrios from Thessaloniki. A girl born near January 25th might be named Tatiana after Saint Tatiana of Rome. The chosen name also becomes the child's name day, a celebration observed every year on that saint's feast, often treated as seriously as a birthday. The middle name is almost always patronymic, meaning it is derived directly from the father's first name. A man named Nikolai gives his son the middle name Nikolaevich and his daughter the middle name Nikolaeva. This tradition dates to the 9th century. For most of that history, patronymics functioned as last names. It wasn't until the 18th century that they settled into the middle name position we recognize today. And last names in Russia often trace back to a family's trade. Kovalev means blacksmith, Popov means priest, Rybakov means fisherman, and Melnikov means miller. From Russia, let's head west to Spain. Spain's naming system carries a logic that surprises almost everyone who encounters it for the first time. Every child inherits a surname from each parent, and women keep their own surnames for life. I spent time studying in Madrid, and I remember this taking a while to fully sink in. Penelope Cruz's full name is Penelope Cruz Sanchez. She was Cruz Sanchez before marriage. She remains Cruz Sanchez after it. The same is true of every Spanish woman, by law and by long tradition. Under this system, a child's first surname has traditionally come from the father, and the second from the mother, though since 2017, parents can agree to reverse that order. The only condition is that once a family chooses an order, all siblings must follow it. Children typically also receive 2 given names, often drawn from the Catholic calendar of saints, much like the Russian tradition we just looked at, though from the Catholic rather than the Orthodox tradition. Maria de las Mercedes honors Our Lady of Mercy, and Jose Maria honors Mary and Joseph. In formal and legal contexts, all 4 names are used. In daily life, most people go by a single given name and their first surname, and compound names collapse further still. Maria de las Mercedes, a name honoring the Virgin Mary, collapses in daily speech to Merce. Jose Maria, honoring both Mary and Joseph, becomes Chema. These contractions are so embedded in daily speech that many Spaniards use them without even registering how much name they contain. And the system can produce surprising results, even within its own rules. The name by which the world knows the painter, Diego Velázquez, is not his father's name, as you might expect. His full name was Diego Rodríguez de Silva y Velázquez. Rodríguez de Silva was his paternal surname. Velázquez came from his mother, Jerónima. He chose to go by his mother's surname instead, a practice that was not unheard of in Andalusia at the time, but was far from the norm. One of the most celebrated names in the entire history of art is a mother's name. It's worth noting that neighboring Portugal uses the same dual surname system, but traditionally in reverse. The mother's surname comes first, and the father's comes last. Same idea, same peninsula, mirrored order. From Spain, we follow that tradition across the Atlantic. The Dominican Republic inherited the Spanish dual surname system, but what developed on top of that framework is distinctly its own. Dominican naming culture has a well-documented taste for the invented and the phonetically playful. A key influence is the way certain consonant sounds shift in the northern Cibao region, where R and L sounds blend towards an I sound in everyday speech. This flows directly into names. Griselda, pronounced locally as Griseida, gets spelled the way it sounds. Common results include Michael for Michael, Nicole for Nicole, and Dianelis, a variation of Diana. Compound names formed by merging the parents' names are also common. A couple named Frank and Edis might name their daughter Franidis. The creativity extended far enough that in 2009, the Dominican Republic considered legislation to restrict unusual names after the Civil Registry showed families naming children after brands and cartoon characters. Names flagged included Mazda Altagracia, after the Japanese car brand, Toshiba Fidelina, after the electronics company, and Winston Churchill de la Cruz, after the British wartime prime minister. The bill did not pass. Before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us, what does your name mean and what culture or tradition does it come from? Whether it's from one of the cultures in this video or somewhere entirely different, we would love to know the story behind it. From the Caribbean, we travel north to the American Southwest. Now we get the naming system that opens this video. The Diné, the Navajo people of the American Southwest, have one of the most distinctive naming traditions in North America. It's built on a principle that most other cultures don't share, that a name can be too personal, too powerful to use in ordinary conversation. Traditionally, a Diné child receives a ceremonial name, bestowed by an elder and considered deeply private. This name is understood to connect the child to specific spiritual forces. It's kept among close family and used only in ceremony. The ceremonial name is not secret out of shame, it's kept private out of reverence. The belief is that a name holds power, and that power deserves protection. What Diné identity more visibly rests on is the clan system. Every person belongs to 4 clans. The first is the clan they were born to, which is their mother's clan. The second is the clan they are born for, which is their father's clan. Then come the clans of their maternal grandfather and their paternal grandfather. When 2 Diné people meet for the first time, they introduce themselves through these 4 affiliations. The introduction is not a formality. In traditional practice, it immediately establishes kinship, social responsibility, and whether marriage between them would be permitted. Clan membership passes through the mother's line, which is what we call matrilineal, reflecting the central role women hold in Diné society. From the American Southwest, we move to the Arab world. Arabic naming tradition stands apart from every other system in this video. Where most names have 2 or 3 parts, a traditional Arabic name is a chain that can extend back through generations. The connective tissue of that chain is 2 words. The first is ibn, meaning son of. The second is bint, meaning daughter of. These words link each generation's name to the next, potentially reaching back through a person's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. The historian Ibn Khaldun takes his name directly from an ancestor named Khaldun. It's less a name than a family tree compressed into a phrase. On top of that chain, Arabic names can carry additional layers. A nisba indicates where a person or their family came from. Al-Baghdadi means from Baghdad. Al-Masri means from Egypt. Honorific titles appear too. Salah al-Din, known in English as Saladin, means rectitude of the faith. And there is the kunya, a social name identifying someone as the parent of their firstborn. Abu Yusuf means father of Yusuf. It's how many parents are addressed in daily life once their first child is born. In practice, most people go by their given name in conversation. The full chain appears in official documents, and that is where it matters most for translation. How many names appear in official documents varies from one country to the next. Lebanese civil records typically list 3 names. Jordanian records commonly carry 4. Women in the Arab world generally keep their own family name after marriage. And the words ibn and bint, foundational to the whole system, are often dropped from modern documents, even though the underlying structure remains. From the Arab world, we travel east to the Korean peninsula. If you've ever met someone named Kim Min Jae and introduced yourself to Mr. Min Jae, you made the single most common mistake in Korean naming. Min Jae is the given name. Kim is the surname. In Korean, the surname comes first. That reversal is more than a formatting difference. It reflects a value system in which family identity takes precedence over individual identity. Korean surnames are typically one syllable, passed through the father's line, and remarkably concentrated. 5 surnames, Kim, Lee, Park, Choi, and Jung. Together, they account for roughly half of the entire South Korean population. When so many people share a surname, the given name carries enormous weight. Given names generally have 2 syllables, each chosen carefully for its meaning in Chinese characters. Ji-hoon combines wisdom and favor. The name is less a label than a quiet declaration of what the family hopes the child will become. This naming logic reflects Korea's Confucian roots, where identity is understood first through relationships and lineage, and then through the individual. And from East Asia, we make our final stop in West Africa. Nigeria is home to more than 250 ethnic groups. Its 3 largest groups, the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa, each approach naming with a deliberateness that most cultures do not share. Here, a name is not a label, it's a declaration. A name can reflect a family's circumstances, carry a prayer for a child's future, or encode the community's expectations of who that child will become. Among the Yoruba of southwestern Nigeria, the naming ceremony, called the Isomoloruko, takes place on the 8th day after birth and involves the entire family and community. Children typically receive multiple names, each chosen with purpose. Circumstantial names record the facts of a birth. Taiwo means the first to taste the world and is given to a firstborn twin. Keinde means the one who comes after and goes to the second. Destiny names traditionally selected through Ifa divination are believed to reflect the child's spiritual path. A name like Ayodela, joy has come home, announces both a feeling and a hope. The Yoruba saying, Oruko Nironi, captures the philosophy precisely. A name influences a person's destiny. The Igbo of southeastern Nigeria take a similar approach through different means. Many Igbo names invoke Chi, the personal spiritual guide each person carries through life. Chukwuemeka means God has done great things. Chinonso means God is near. The Igbo also traditionally name children after the market day on which they were born, a practice that encoded time and community into a person's identity from their very first day. In both traditions, a name is a sentence. Sometimes it's a whole story. It tells you who the family was when the child arrived, what they hoped for, and what they believed. 7 countries, 7 systems, different structures, different lengths, different sources of meaning. In Russia, a name encodes faith and lineage. In Spain, it gives equal weight to both parents. In the Dominican Republic, it absorbs the sounds and rhythms of the community. In the Navajo Nation, the most important name you have is the one kept sacred, shared only in ceremony. In the Arab world, your name reaches back through generations like a chain. In Korea, the family comes before the individual, even in the order of the words. And in Nigeria, a name is a prayer spoken before a child is old enough to understand it. The structures are different, the lengths are different, the sources of meaning are different. But the impulse behind every naming tradition is the same, to say something true and lasting about a person before they are old enough to say it themselves. If you have a birth certificate, name change document, or any other name-related paperwork that needs certified translation, send it our way. We'd be happy to help, and we'll see you in the next one.